What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Everyday Jeeper. My name is Dustin. Here today with my work truck. It's a 2000 Grand Cherokee 4-liter automatic. Bought this as a family car. My wife was pregnant with our first kid, and all we had was my JKU, and 8 months pregnant, she wasn't liking hopping in and out of that thing. So we picked this up for $3,000, I think it was, 4 years ago now. It's been a great little work truck. Had a few issues here and there, and as you can hear, we got one going on right now. So we're gonna crawl in here and take a look at it. Alright, now that we got the Grand Cherokee up on the lift, talk about what happened. I was driving home, developed the worst, what I can only describe as death wobble that I've ever seen. And it really wasn't death wobble. I'm a Jeep owner, I've always been a Jeep owner. I understand death wobble. This was different. It was completely random to speed, to condition in which it came in and left. It kept changing conditions. It was violent. Shake the headlights, it was violent. So what actually happened, my front rotors were warped. I knew they were warped. I was just waiting on enough time to do a brake job. With the front rotors warped, the front passenger caliper seized. It seized, so every time that warped rotor came around, it was grabbing that caliper, and that's what was causing the shake, and it was violent. So I pinched the hose off and got the caliper to let go just to get me home. And then on the way home, it developed another issue. As you can see, my CV boots are gone. And with them being gone, I got a lot going on down here. Needless to say, this makes a pretty horrendous noise. You can see all the balls are gone. So we're gonna do a full brake job, calipers, hoses, rotors, pads, everything. And we're gonna be changing CV axles. So, as you guys can see under there, CV axles, both sides need change. Passenger side's obviously the worst. It makes a pretty horrific noise. Gets the neighbors' attentions, that's for sure. So we're gonna go ahead and change those out while we got all the brakes and stuff on today. That's the plan of attack. You guys, we're still really new to this YouTube thing, making videos in general. Trying to do my best to give you guys quality content. Also usually by myself and rely on a tripod. My garage is not very big, can't always move it around. So I apologize if you guys can't see everything. We're going to be taking wheels off. Both of you guys know how to do that. Just like the JK's early Wranglers are all 1/2-inch studs, which means 3/4 inch or 19 mil lug nuts. You see there, that caliper's got that large retaining clip on it. This is the TEVES, T-E-V-E-S style caliper. There's 2 different caliper options on these. So before you order, make sure you look and know which one you're getting. So yeah, if we look in here, I haven't actually taken a look at this yet. Chunk in the middle, I'm trying to maybe use some graphics, I don't know. That's your rotor. On that side, that's your pad, backer, and your pad. You can see that pad's pretty thick. If you look on this side, I'm not really sure what happened in there. But I'm going to go ahead and say it's not good. We're going to go ahead and reposition this camera, tear the first side apart, and go from there. Alright guys, welcome back. Do my best to take this thing apart in a way that you guys can see it. This clip is being replaced. So it doesn't really matter how or what condition it comes in. Alright guys, so we're going to get started pulling the bracket off here. We're going to pull the caliper off of the bracket first, and then we're going to pull the bracket second. You can pull them both at the same time, and I normally would if I wasn't replacing the caliper. But since we're replacing both calipers today, I'm going to pull the caliper separate. The 2 caliper bolts on this particular model are inside these rubber grommets here. They are 7mm Allens. Now that the pins are out, caliper should come off. Should be the opportune word. The 2 bolts holding on the caliper bracket, one there and one there. This one's, the lower one's backed off about 1/4 of an inch or so. Whoever was in here last didn't do a very good job. These bracket bolts are 18 mil. caliper bracket off. We're going to have to do a little cleaning on this before it goes. Pull the spindle nut, and we need to pull the hub itself. Alright guys, for the axle nut here, it's 1 7/16. Alright, now that we got that off, we can pull the 3 bolts holding in the hub itself. So you got one here, and then one on the backside. The thing to note of these ones is they're usually 12 point. There are 13 mil 12 points on this particular Jeep. Alright, now that we got them all broken loose, use just a ratcheting box end. It's the easiest way to get in there and get them all. Alright, now that we got the 3 bolts out and the axle nut off, now it's going to get the hub all the way off. I don't know if this thing's ever come off in the 20 years this Jeep's been alive, so there's a couple techniques. Try them one at a time and see what happens. Alright guys, so I normally use my air hammer to pull off hubs, either by driving the axle in or by taking the side bit and getting them going. I can't find my air hammer right now. I just spent the last half hour looking through this garage. I don't know who or what used it last and where it got put. So I'm pulling out my oversized puller. This is usually my last resort. The air hammer has failed. Last time I had to use this thing, the hub came out in 2 pieces. This is actually made, these 3 arms are actually made for 8 on 6.5. And it came with this large adapter plate here to adapt it down to 5 lug. So let's see what happens. That's about textbook right there. My unit bearing is actually in pretty good shape. I'm kind of surprised, but it is. So even though I have it off, I'm not going to replace it at this time. Alright. So there is our nasty axle shaft. You see this boot's been torn for some time. I have quite a lot of play there. Splines all look to be in good shape. I don't see any excess wear anywhere, so it's all good. Good signs. Now that we got this side taken apart, I'm going to reposition the camera. We're going to repeat the exact same steps on the other side. Alright guys, got to this point now. We're going to come back to regular video just so we can see the carnage together for the first time. So I have not pulled this out yet. So. Seem to be missing something. Oops. Just like the other side, blinds all seem to be in good shape. Bouncing around in there, I don't see damage to it other than the balls and the CV shaft are missing. So the next thing from here for tear down is taking off the brake hoses. I'm not going to take them off tonight. I'm off tomorrow because it's late and I'm probably making my neighbors really mad right now. But I'm going to spray hard line to hose connection. I'm going to spray those down tonight with PB. So hopefully they come out tomorrow. We'll catch you guys in the morning. Alright guys, welcome back to the Everyday Jeeper. It's now the next day. It's about midnight when I called last night. Got a few hours of sleep. Now it's next morning. Before we go any further into the Jeep, I figured we'd go through the replacement parts we picked up from Rock Auto. All really factory style replacement parts. Okay, so first off we have our replacement brake lines. Honestly, the reason why I did these, you just saw the one side was pinched off, so I didn't want to reuse that, and we weren't sure if the caliper froze or the line clogged. Might as well just replace both of them. It's cheap. You're here. You're already doing calipers, so you already got to bleed. Might as well just get the lines out of the way as well. Alright, so this is the driver's side, short side. Don't take it for granted that they include a new nut. I'm very happy to see that they do. Not everybody does, even though it's not something you're supposed to reuse. As you can see, brand new boot. Again, nothing fancy. This is just a factory replacement. These ones are by Cardone Select. I use Cardones quite a lot, actually, for the price. It's good quality. Last thing you want to do is lay them next to each other. Make sure they're the right length. You'd be amazed how many length options there are when it comes to axle shafts. Not just for the Jeeps, but for any vehicle you're working on. Even this Jeep actually had two different options, whether you had the Select Track system or the Quadra Drive system. So it's important to know what you're dealing with. And it was a matter of, I think, like a ½ an inch difference between the two. But if you got the wrong one, it would not work. Alright, so then there's our passenger side, the long side. Axle shaft. Hard to judge the length on this one since the other one's in two pieces. It looks right. Alright, now onto the brakes. Again through Rock Auto and went with their Power Stop kit with calipers. Factory replacement kit. So we have ceramic pads, as expected, new copper washers for the brake hose. You do not reuse these. Besides that, I'm very happy to see actually that this caliper is loaded. It's a brand new bracket, so I don't have to worry about cleaning up the old brackets, which is just going to save me time. But the pins are pre-greased, which is just awesome. A lot of times people negate the grease. PowerStop does offer performance versions in their upgraded kits. The pins are really well greased. Important thing to note with new rotors, your standard rotors are going to come unfinished with a little bit of a oily film on the surface. That film is to protect it from rusting. The only time you're not going to have that film is if they're coated, and they're usually not silver at that point. They're not bare metal. They're usually light gray or dark gray. So before you install these, you want to use some brake clean to get that oil off. If you don't, you will introduce excess heat into the system and actually warp your brand new rotors. Okay, now that we got everything unboxed, last thing we have to do on here before we go installing new parts is to get the brake hoses themselves off. As I said last night, I did spray them down. They actually didn't look as bad as I thought they would. But we're going to go ahead and reposition the camera right now and get under there and get these things off. Alright guys, here on the passenger side, which is nicer of the two sides, the line comes all the way back here to the frame, and it meets the hard line right here. This Jeep, it is a 3/8, and for brake lines, I always recommend proper tool, line wrench or flare nut wrench. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it actually looks like a 6-point closed wrench with a slot in the middle. So that slot goes over the line, and you can line up the 6 points and break her loose. This is unbelievably important. So the 6 point's going to grab all 6 sides of that flare nut and give you the best possible chance of getting it out without stripping it, especially if it's rusty. absolute pain in the neck. So the factory one here, this is the bracket that was on the frame, and I don't know if you guys can make that out. There's actually a little R stamped in it right here. Now I pulled the other one out. First thing I want to look at is that bracket. But as you can see, the one in my hand is oriented backwards. If I were to make this the same direction, well, that's clearly not going to work. So I know this is the left hand side. Round 2. Again, right away you can see that bracket is now the same orientation. As we go down, these new ones included replacement clips. These are to hold the ABS sensor line. Everything lines up. So, in theory, this should go on without a hitch. Okay, so I know you couldn't see it, but one of the things I like to do when I'm under there, that bracket on the frame side had an alignment tab, so you know it's going to sit on the frame the correct way. That's great. A lot of people will bolt that up and then hook the hard line to it. For those of you who ever tied in a flare nut hard line, you know that they're very, very, very finicky to get started and to start threading. So even though you have it at the right angle, it can be finicky. And it's much harder to tweak the hard line to get it to line up the way you want it. So I left it off. I started the hard line, got it about halfway down, and then I put the bolt in the frame. That way I know that it's started and not cross-threaded, and I'm not going to have any issues. Alright guys, now that I got the line attached, I'm going to go ahead and lower this back down a little bit, reposition the camera, and get started on reassembly of the passenger side. Alright guys, so for reassembly, literally just going to go in the exact opposite order that we took everything apart in. First thing to go in is going to be our axle shaft. Okay. Alongside axle shafts can kind of be a pain because you don't want it to drag in the axle shaft. Just like that. So as long as you don't drag it through the axle shaft, then the splines stay pretty clean and it shouldn't fight you too bad. The way I do it, for as much as I can, I have my hand up here to support the shaft to stop it from nosing down. Once I can't do that anymore, I take the stub shaft here and I go all the way down, put a little twist on it, which causes the front to pick up. Once you get to the stop, just give it a little side to side to line up those splines. A lot of people sit there and try and spin it, and it's not necessary. A little side to side, line up splines, push it the rest of the way in. Alright, get our hub on. Alright, so there's a lot of surface debris along here. It's going to mate into here. This isn't perfect either. So I'm just going to real quick take the air grinder with a scuff pad and just clean that off. As you can see, there's kind of like a raised lip across here. That's all I was worried about cleaning. That just makes this mate a little bit easier. So get your splines lined up. It's really just that simple. Good. So from here we can go ahead and put our new rotor on. Okay guys, so just some brake clean and a shop towel. I know it doesn't look very different. That's really all it takes. A lot of people swear by a little bit of Scotch-Brite and it doesn't hurt anything. These came clean pretty well, so I'm not too worried about Scotch-Brite in them. Okay guys, so here's a very common mistake that I've seen more often than not, and that is, which side do my calipers go on? Okay, most time calipers can be mounted either direction. As far as like I can mount this one over there or that one over here, but it will not function properly. And the reason why is if you look here, this is where our hose is going to hook up, and this is our bleeder. You always want your bleeder to be oriented up. So so the air can actually escape. Okay, if I mounted this on the other side, it would mount this way, okay, and the bleeder would be down. And so as I tried to bleed it, air would just sit up here, and I could never bleed the system properly. I think I'm going to go ahead and load these with the pads first, and then throw everything on at once. Or the pads loaded on the caliper. Aha. Alright guys, so it's actually about a month later. I was editing this video and realized that I didn't shoot an outro. The camera ended at a couple weird spots. We were still working out the bugs with this thing. So I wanted to go ahead and just shoot real quick. Brakes work great, all the noises are gone. Tobin's actually been driving the Grand Cherokee for the last month or so. Daily driver and his JK Morpheus have been down. So I lent that to him so he can get to and from work. It is a straightforward brake job. Straightforward axle shafts, and I'm very happy about that with the amount of damage on the axle shaft. I was really fearing there was going to be more damage to the axle housing itself, the axle tubes, bearings, seals, anything like that. We don't have any leaks coming out of it, so very happy with it. So guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and let's go do this together.